Bible leads to prayer.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for all that you do for us. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for your guidance. We pray, Lord, we might continue to look to thee for the guidance we need to do the operation of this county to the best of our abilities, Lord. And we certainly seek and pray for this help, Lord. Forgive us where we fail thee, Lord, and we pray for those that are sick in our county, those that are bereaved. Please bless us to meet their needs. Go with us now today and continue to bless us. These things we ask in thy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we got to approve the minutes from the last meeting. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I so move.
We have a second.
I second.
All in favor? Next, we approve the claims. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Next, we've got Mike Cottonby here today. We got a letter, recommendation from Mike Shaw on, says after reviewing the bids open on November the 12th for plastic pipe, I recommend the commission award the bid to the overall low bidder of J&G Cupboards, such and such, Fed, Alabama. Do we have a motion to accept the bids from J&G on plastic pipe?
I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Next, we have a letter here from Mike. He's recommending the travel for Mike Shaw, Richard Cantrell, and Lynn Mitchell on December the 4th and 5th. Lynn Mitchell to Bridge School in Huntsville. February 25th and 26th, Mike Shaw and Richard Cantrell to Vegetation Management in Tuscaloosa. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
We gotta go to.
I second.
All in favor? All right, Ms. Page, your turn.
Thank you, I think. Well, good morning. I want to talk with the commission about an opportunity that Marion County has, and if I need a little bit of help from y'all. Now, it's an opportunity that in the long run is not going to cost Marion County a dime.
Continue.
I have spent quite a bit of time on the phone with Montgomery through the Secretary of State's office and through the State Comptroller's office. Right now, Marion County has 15 poll pads that were given to Marion County by the Secretary of State a number of years ago. We do not have those implemented in all of our polling precincts. Right now, Marion County still has quite a bit of HAVA money, which is federal money that was given to Marion County or assigned to Marion County to use in the Helping America Vote Act. Now, what has been approved for use of that HAVA money has been poll pads, amongst other things. In an effort to get poll pads in all the precincts in the state of Alabama, right now the state comptroller is going to reimburse 50% of the expense of a certain number of poll pads. Now, I went through and calculated, and right now, in order for us to be in all our precincts having at least a poll pad, we would need 15 more. The cost of that is $12,750. Now, there is a formula that the comptroller will reimburse by. And based upon last year's number, they would reimburse us 1/2 of the price of 14 poll books, which is $5,950. The HAVA monies would pay for the balance of the 15. So we would get half of 14, half the monies would pay for the other half of the 14, plus the other 850 to get all of the 150. Now, in order to do that, I would need the county commission to front the $5,950. And then after March 3rd, which is the primary, after the primary, then a request for reimbursement for the state comptroller. You would submit the post-election documentation, and I have already gotten with the lady Friday to verify that they will reimburse that 14. They may even do half of 15. It depends upon the number of registered voters we have at the beginning of the year. But definitely the 14, that after that, they would reimburse Marion County all $5,950. So we would have 100% poll pads in all of our districts. Marion County gets back the money they would have fronted. The half of money picks up the rest of it, and we are 100% poll pad operated in Marion County. And so what I'm requesting of the county commission, if you would please consider, based upon these numbers, and I brought any information you might need to know, if you would consider, once I get this information back from No Inc., which is the supplier of the pads that we currently have, if you would consider fronting me that money, and then whatever documentation I need to get for y'all at the end of March to get the money back from the state comptroller's office.
When do we need to do this? I mean, sooner the better.
Well, I like to keep my money as long as possible.
Yeah, well, that's what,
So what I had anticipated doing was getting my quote back from No Link, getting my paperwork back in from the Haven money, finding out when the last time I can get these ordered and get them in here timely, and then give that bill to y'all if y'all would in fact pay that money, so that Marion County can keep that money in its coffers as long as it can without it being out.
So this is a done deal, this is not something, I mean, we're sure that we will be
You
reimbursed.
are assured. Now, that money right now, the state comptroller is going through. Now, the benefit to Marion County is this: they're doing it right now. Years from now, the state comptroller may not be reimbursing for half of these poll pads. Right now, there's just a big initiative on behalf of the Secretary of State to get this done. So, if the county commission consider doing this gives us the Haven money to use later on as these poll pads that we already have, they begin to tear up. We'll have those monies in place to reimburse, and it's not coming from the county commission. So we keep those federal monies in there as long as we possibly can.
Is there any, upgrading on these poll packs each year to boot them up, to keep them in,
Keep them
Up to
updated. We have not had any so far, but like any other type of equipment, there will be. And those Haven monies, is my understanding, I can use to update. So I'm trying to keep my Haven money built up as much as I can.
well, new voters and things like that have to be updated. Who does that? Will you do that?
We do that along with one of our inspectors. We get the information that comes from, it's the Citrix program that comes to the Board of Registrars. We download that information, and then we upload it into the pads before the primary. They're uploaded again before the runoff, and then again before the general, because each of the voter registrations has to be updated before the actual election, so that when you put your ID in, that information can be brought up so that the poll worker who's working that can verify, yes, this isn't a voter, and if it's a primary runoff, yes, this person is entitled to vote because this is not a crossover vote. And that's one of the big initiatives that the Secretary of State is pushing, that this virtually eliminates the illegal crossover voting.
and it has to be updated for everyone because of people
Yeah.
moving and
And-
people registering to vote
Yes.
that's become of age.
Right. And it's gonna be the updated, information, updated technology, and that's why I'm really gonna keep as much of my Haven money in place as I can, because it's like an Apple iPad, and at some point, those become old, and they're gonna have to be replaced. With $850 a piece, if I can keep my Haven money, as long as I can replace that without having to come to the commission and ask for money. I can just use those monies that the federal government has already set aside.
Due to our lack of excess money, when do you suspect, how long you figure we'll have to, that money will have to be out there before March?
I'll
Just a
just-
guess.
I would need to get back with you. We have to have those, I have to update that information into the poll pads at the end of February, so I would think I would not need to order them until January. And then once they got in, I would not think money would need to be paid out from the county commission until January. And again, I would do my best to get that ordered as late as I could, so that we could keep the money in Marion County as long as we could.
So 60 to 90 days at the most.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions?
Paige, what was the exact amount that would need to be funded by the commission?
Right now, based upon the number from March the 18th, it'd be $5,950. If by the time we get the new number of voter registrations and we can get all 15 that we need, it would be $6,375. And after March the 3rd, which is the primary, then the request for reimbursement can be submitted after that. I did verify that it was actually after the primary as opposed to the general in November. That was one of the questions that I wanted to verify. I didn't want the county commission to be out approximately $6,000 for the whole year.
Yeah.
I wanted to verify, so it is after the primary that we could request that money back.
You looking for a motion?
Yeah.
So you want us, can we just go ahead and vote on it, and we'll wait till the last day that you know of to send the money?
That's what I'm requesting.
Yeah, that's, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to do that.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Mr. Hunt?
Yes, sir. If it's okay with the chairman, I'm going to take up the Winfield
Yeah.
issue first. We've received a request from Mr. Bill Atkinson, who represents the City of Winfield and the Healthcare Authority of the City of Winfield, to transfer ownership of the Winfield Hospital property over to the City of Winfield or the Healthcare Authority of Winfield. And I wanted to bring this to the commission's attention, and hopefully we'll have everything prepared and ready to be voted upon at the next commission meeting. Because I want to clear up with Mr. Atkinson which way it'd be better with the City of Winfield or the Healthcare Authority, and to nail down the specific piece of property. But the county commission owns the hospital property in Winfield, and we're under a 99-year lease with the City of Winfield. And that lease is July of 1964. And it's been assigned by the City of Winfield a handful of times to the various entities that run the hospital in Winfield. But Marion County used to own several parcels of property within the county that was used for hospital purposes. We had some in Hackleburg, we had some in Gewen, we had some in Hamilton, obviously. And I believe we transferred the last of the Hackleburg property a few years back. Around 2000 or so, we had a 99-year lease with Hamilton on the Hamilton Hospital. Up with that property to North Mississippi. Gewen, we've transferred that property as well. We may still own a smidgen property there by the hospital in Gewen. But basically, the county commission has been out of the hospital business since 1980, and we've transferred the property. I would highly recommend the county just go ahead and deed this property over to either the Healthcare Authority of Winfield or the City of Winfield. They're the ones that are operating the hospital at this point in time, and to get out of the property ownership. It's not doing us any good at this point. So.
Wow. I mean, they don't pay us anything for it. Why are they wanting to take ownership? They want to do improvements?
Well, I think it's just a matter of control. We have an extremely basic lease with them from 99 years back. So from 64, that's fast approaching that lease is ending. But I think it's just a matter of having the control and to allow them the flexibility of doing some things rather than having to come to the county commission every time, you know, if improvements needed to be made or anything like that had to be made, they would not have to worry about it. It also removes us from any liability if something happens on the property. I'm not sure that we have it, but we definitely get named because we're the owner.
How much property are we talking?
Our original lease is for 6 acres. It looks like that property now is about 4.6 acres. I want to clarify exactly what it is, but we're talking somewhere around 4.6 to 6 acres of property.
What is that property valued at?
I have no idea because from our perspective, we don't get property tax on it, and if we transfer it to Winfield, we won't either. But I would imagine it's at least a couple million.
Do we have the agreements that we've had before when we award these properties back to the people of the cities and the towns and hospitals? Was there any clause in there about that they sell these for financial gain after we give it to them, or does this go to the hospital only for them to make improvements themselves?
I think it would be for that purpose. I'll look back and see exactly how the Hamilton deal was constructed, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it was just a straight transfer to the hospital facility. And they may have kept the provision in there that it, remain in medical facilities and healthcare facilities. I know we did not do that in Hackenberg because it was obviously not used for that purpose, but we have that term in our lease agreement with the City of Winfield that it has to be a hospital property. I'm not for sure if they would like for that to be removed, but I assume that they're okay with that. They're trying to operate the hospital.
I'd like being somewhere clause in there that, if we don't just pass back to them, sell it to some individual financial gain without helping them.
But that, a couple of the main reasons why the county continued ownership of the properties was to try to eliminate some of that, the fly-by-nights. We operated the county hospital in Hamilton to 1980, but maintained the lease up until 99. But there were several different organizations, and once a stable hospital organization came in, that's when the county, transferred it. We have a similar circumstance here. Is Winfield went and created their own healthcare authority, like Hamilton did, and to hopefully provide for that. We could talk with them about having some kind of provision in there, like what you mentioned.
Any more questions?
With that, I just wanted to let y'all know what's been requested and to update y'all, and we'll have all the particulars ready at the next meeting.
In other words, this same thing we've done all everything else in all cities.
Yes, sir.
Towns.
They're not asking anything any different than what we did with the other towns where we had the hospital and healthcare properties.
He just wanted, Mr. Hunt wanted to give us all the information today where he can get it all tied together.
Yeah, just like, they want to just drop it in and say, hey, vote on this, here's what's going on, but just to let y'all be aware. Let me go to the next one.
You're next.
All right, the next part, we've talked about this throughout the year, but I'm going to make a recommendation that we request and recommend basically a consolidation of precincts 4, 3, 2, and 17, and that's Byrd, Barnesville, Byrd, Rye, Kemp, Barnesville, and Bexar into one voting center, and that voting center be at the Byrd Fire Department. And we'll request local legislation to do that. And then to combine precincts 19 and 7, which is Wigington with the town of Hackleburg, and to have that voting center at the Hackleburg Senior Center, which is where we moved the Hackleburg voting place earlier this year. Request to have those precincts consolidated into one voting center so that it would be a lot easier for the people to vote and to guarantee the safety of the voting places. The Byrd Fire Department and Hackleburg Senior Center are excellent places that are maintained throughout the year and will have adequate parking and facilities to assist everyone.
The first one, 4, 3, 2, and 17, is that in one district?
Yes, sir.
What district? One district?
It's in District 2.
2.
Except for Bexar,
That Bexar is split with
one.
one.
Split.
So those ones at Bexar will be going to Scottsville,
No, they'll all still go to
Byrd.
Byrd.
And did precinct 19 and 7 was in district?
How many, Scott, you know how many total voters from one votes at Bexar? On their thing, because they had, somebody said something about that those folks might rather go to Shotsville closer than Booth for those in that area.
They have approximately 200, I believe, at Bexar. It's actually one of our more populated voting areas. If
I don't think there's 15 or 20 that's out of one that votes there. I think most of them is District 2 that votes there.
that would be correct. Looking at it, I believe it's that top portion of Bexar, which if y'all want to have those moved to Scottsville, we could vote to just change that precinct line and have that to go into Scottsville.
That wouldn't happen in March, that would be for November.
If y'all want to do that, y'all need to do it right now. Because it would have to be 3 months beforehand to do it for March. If y'all want to change the precinct line, y'all can do that to mirror up with the district lines first.
I think it would be better, that way you get these people split out of this 1 and 2. And that'd be closer for them at Scottsville.
So you'll want the Scottsville and Bexar lines to mirror the District 1 and District 2 commission lines. Right. Okay. Well, if y'all need to have a vote on that today, if that's what y'all would like. If y'all want to make a recommendation.
Do we have a motion on Scott's recommendation on the lines?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, and then the rest of that then would be, get back to the new lines of Bexar, Rye, Kemp, and Barnesville to all go to the Byrd Fire Department. Which if you look at that, my little sketch drawing I did back here, Byrd Fire Department is basically right slap dab in the middle of those 4 precincts.
All that'll do on ours is change the ones, I think there's maybe 12 or 15 that goes to Bexar and vote, and most of them live over on 19, or some of them does, and
Yes,
some in the Gravel Springs area, but they'll go to Shotsville.
Yes, sir.
That'd be fine.
Okay. One vote cover both, all this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna divide them up, but for the Byrd Fire Department Voting Center, we need a motion second.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
And then for the Wigington and Hackleburg, to vote at the Hackleburg Senior Center.
Need a motion on that?
Yes, sir.
I think the only one, Scott, that precinct involves is me and Dale, and I think Dale's good with that. He's not here, but I think he's good with it.
Okay.
And on our Wigington to Hackleburg.
Do you have votes in Wigington too?
Mhm.
How many votes do you have in Wigington?
All total, not many.
There's not many that vote there, but okay.
Do we have a motion to
I'll make a motion.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Part of one of the issues you're talking about is one of the things that we're trying to ultimately get cleared up. And some of it's gonna change after the census too, but we have some smaller voting precincts where they vote in multiple commission races, and we're just using y'all as an example. School board would be the same thing. We have 3 commissioners, 3 board members voted upon, and that be, Bexar is the same way, Wigginton is as well. So we're trying to eliminate some of that. Another one of those, we're going to also request Ms. Rosen for Pikeville to be divided. Pikeville North to be voted combined with 1A to vote in Hamilton, and Pikeville South to vote at Pea Ridge. I think Pea Ridge would be the ideal spot there. That mirrors up with commission districts of, with some would be voting in your races, some would be voting in your race. But to combine those to where there's no confusion, but we're also asked to have legislation passed to allow for that as well.
Do we have a motion?
Before we do that, you're talking about Wigginton, and where's the people from one gonna go vote if they're not gonna go to Wigginton?
Hackleburg.
Okay, so that one you won't have to have, they're not gonna change precincts.
That one's a little bit more of a issue about, we could change that precinct if you wanted to match up with the lines, if I wanted to go ahead and vote, but it's not as, the Bexar one is a pretty even cut almost along the interstate.
When it is the north, half of that precinct about as close to Allen as they are to.
Yes, sir.
So,
And it avoids mixing up the commission and school board districts as well.
The reason I'm in the places that we're closing is no bathrooms, not handicap accessible.
one of them's unsafe.
Yes.
I've got a ramp that's rotten, old buildings, deteriorated.
And that, I think that's really important. We've talked about this, but to highlight it, the reason we're wanting to do this is because of these voting places that we're trying to remove from are deemed to be not ideal, unsafe, more difficult for people to vote. We're trying
Uncomfortable.
we're trying to make it easier for people to be able to vote.
Some of them don't have even bathroom facilities, do they?
That's correct. Bathroom facilities and inappropriate ADA access.
But just so that everybody knows, this won't be done before the March
That's right.
election.
The March elections will all still take place at their current voting centers. Hopefully, we'll have this in place before November and going forward. Except for the precinct change. That'll happen.
You need a motion on that?
Yeah.
This Paige, you got anything to add to any of this, what we're talking about?
I'm thankful that this meeting took place. I'd heard a few rumblings. Now, all the polling places and locations, it's clearly within the county commission. The probate judge has nothing to do with that. However, some of the rumblings I had heard, I wanted to make sure that what precinct lines, that is something that the county commission can do. If the combination, each precinct is to have one polling place. In order to save money and polling places be combined into a voting center, local legislation has to be passed in order to get that done. So some of the rumblings that I have been hearing coming down, we were going to be in violation of that. And so I'm glad that the understanding is that there will be the local legislation to get the voting centers, because that will require the local act. But then the precinct is going to be the votes that y'all can do. So that makes me feel better about it.
Any more questions, comments?
So we're doing all this the right way.
Yes, sir. But on Piper, we still need to vote on Piper.
Yeah, that's right. Any more questions? We have a motion for Pikeville. Have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
I will say that to be in complete compliance with the law, maps of these voting precincts, the new mapping changes, must be provided to the Board of Registrars and filed with the Marion County Probate Judge within 90 days of the election. That being, the election is March the 3rd, so it must be filed in those two places by December the 3rd. That is going to be the map with the new lines have to be filed in those two places in order to get the computers updated.
Yeah.
Who will provide these maps?
The county commission will have to provide that.
That's where I can.
Mr. Hot does.
Sure, all right.
I can do my little sketch drawing. But yes, we'll get everything to the Board of Registrars and the probate judge and then the legislative committee on reinforcement as well. Make sure they have everything.
Anybody else? Ms. Glenda, you need to.
Well, I just came for an update on my request for last week. You know, I gave away all the paper on the, where I need to have a deputy, and I had to have the thing signed. Y'all still have a letter? I didn't even grab my letter. It's been crazy at the office this morning, and I just sort of jumped up and came. But it has to be signed and page corrected into the, you know, for the request for the deputy.
In order to have a deputy coroner, the current coroner must present a request in writing to the Marion County Commission, and the Marion County Commission must therefore vote for a deputy coroner. The deputy coroner then must provide a bond to the county commission and must give an oath to the county commission, and that name be provided by the coroner to the county commission, and that name be voted on by the county commission.
Let me give this to Connor. Okay, Scott.
Yeah, I don't know that we had got that letter to our attorney.
Yeah, I think that's what y'all said you were gonna do, and so that's the reason I came back. I didn't know.
What we need to be clear on is whether we just need a letter signed by the chairman or if we actually need a vote at a meeting of all the members
Yeah.
to allow her to do that.
I would think it would need to be a vote.
Okay. Does it need to be, it can't be today because it's not on the agenda, correct?
Right.
So at the first December meeting, we can have that on the agenda.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
if
fine.
everything looks good with our attorney, just add that to the agenda for the 1st of December.
Decent. Just keep that if you need it, if you need to.
I can do that.
Anybody else have any comments, questions? We have a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
We have a second.
A second.
Second, all in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/49 County News TV.